let's grow together. I pass the floor to Roland.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And it's my true great pleasure to welcome you all here on this joint session with Dutcham. It's our privilege to have this cooperation and insightful discussions, hopefully, for today. And on behalf of the Swedish Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to emphasize the importance of such gatherings that we have today, because we need to share ideas, best practices with each other in order to grow our organizations, in order to grow our businesses together, because that's what is the most important nowadays, because we see the many challenges around us, the geopolitical challenges, the labor challenges, the COVID challenges, and we need to find solutions. We need to share good and best practices with us. A few years ago, the Swedish Chamber started this program series focusing on the labor force. So we started first with the labor shortages, then of course the home office challenges, then the COVID challenges, and this is again a great topic to discuss in this hybrid event, because we welcome hopefully many people and many colleagues in the online space as well, and we'll follow the insightful presentations from professional speakers, as well as the panel talks afterwards. And our key aim with such events, as just Andrea mentioned, to facilitate the discussions, because that will grow our competencies and that will help our organizations to grow our business. So this is, I think, a great initiative. I hope that we will have many other great joint events, and I'm wishing you all a fruitful discussions, peer-to-peer networking opportunities and possibilities, and of course great learnings throughout the whole day. So thank you very much, and all the best for today. Thank you.
And just a short overview on the agenda for today. So the next program point will be a short presentation by André Francois from Happy at Work. And then we will get some insights from David Horvath from CBRE, which will be followed by a panel discussion together with three further experienced business leaders in the topic. And then we welcome you to some coffee and snacks, and as Roland and Andrea mentioned, so just let's talk and discuss the issues that you have. So please, come to the stage, and then we'll.
Okay. All right. Hello. I'm going to talk a little bit about employee engagement and how we can develop our talents, and also how we can use tech in order to do so. First, a short introduction of myself. My name is André Francois. I'm a Swedish-French entrepreneur. Lives in Sweden currently, but I've lived in Budapest for 2 years. Moved back to Sweden 2 years ago. I have been doing my entrepreneurship in investments, properties, but what I like the most and where I spend most time is in HR tech. That's also what we're going to talk about today. And I'm CEO and co-founder of Happy at Work, which is a digital solution to measure and follow up the work environment in the company. So with with that name, Happy at Work, you have some pressure on you when it comes to motivating your employees. I've also been studying and have a big interest in psychology, environmental therapy, motivational talks, and conflict resolution. Please connect with me on LinkedIn if you like. So first, if we can agree that what we want to decrease is burnout, staff turnover, and concern. Instead, increase productivity, job satisfaction, engagement. Can we agree on that? Right? Is it something that you would like to add on one of the sites?
Well, we can also increase creativity.
Creativity. Very good.
Some studies said, if your employees are motivated, then you are making, like, companies making more money.
Yeah.
40%.
Yeah. Diversity, also good to increase. Yeah.
And
Definitely.
inclusivity as well.
Inclusion, trust, definitely. Trust. Good. A lot of things to increase, something to decrease, more than the ones that we have. Gossip. Gossip, yeah. Absolutely.
Waste.
Waste, yeah.
Negativism.
Negativity, yeah.
Meaningless processes.
Meaningless processes, yeah. No one like those. All right. Sorry.
Meetings.
Meetings, yeah. All right. So what are the challenges with motivating employees? If we start with globally, some reasons are we have a more competitive landscape, so we have to push a little bit harder, work a little bit harder to keep our balance. Increasing staff turnover, and the new generation leaves easier than the old generation. You have probably experienced that. High demand for workforce, especially in IT, but also other sectors. Increase of mental illness has also been rising the latest years. And also the question if you're going to go remote, not remote, hybrid, where it has been a lot of studies that have shown that remote is really productive. And then other studies have shown that it's not so productive over time. So I think maybe the last study hasn't arrived on that subject. When it comes to Hungary, what I've heard after speaking to clients here, you have a high base salary in neighbor countries, so they steal some employees, and also a lack of workforce. But I'm not an expert on the Hungarian market, so something to add on the challenges that you have in Hungary.
I can tell you one more. So, we don't have the euro, and the currency has been very protected, and that's been a very big issue with trade, even more because you don't have visibility on stability or lack.
Yeah.
So, as you said, it's not just the salary, it's a higher, it's the stability of it.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that's a good point as well. Something more you would like to add as a challenge on the Hungarian market?
High inflation.
Inflation, yeah.
Just having a look on the people side, I think what we can hear about Hungary and the people in Hungary, how far they are open to change, right? So the openness of their behavior.
Okay.
Flexibility.
In general, you mean in general lack of openness to?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also a bit Budapest centric. So
Yeah.
things seem to be focusing a lot on Budapest.
All right, and that forget the other cities. Yeah, I could feel that when I lived here for 2 years. That there was a lot of focus on Budapest. You didn't hear that much about other cities, where a lot of productivity and action is going on as well, of course.
I think in Hungary empowerment is also very low for the employees, so that's also a motivational issue.
Yeah.
And the trust and an inclusive and trustful environment.
Okay, yeah. interesting. All right, so some top lessons from clients in experience that I have, and there's a lot to add to this list, but something that I have learned and picked up during the way. To start from the top, I think even before having one-to-one with all managers, start with yourself. Are you motivated? Because I think it's really important to be really motivated yourself before motivating others, right? And then having one-to-one with all managers and team leaders, because they are essentially the ones that should make the employees motivated. If you're in a larger company, it has to like be motivated. The motivation has to be on all levels. And I think that you should have one-to-ones. If you're CEO, you should have a one-to-one with all your top managers weekly to check in with them to see what's going on. I also think, or I also believe in a coaching approach to ask a lot of questions to find out what is really motivating my managers and the drivers. Highlight success, acknowledge and celebrate. I think most companies could improve when it comes to celebration. Do you celebrate success in your companies? Yeah. Good.
We forget to celebrate.
Sorry?
We forget to celebrate because it's not a goal already there and you have to run.
Yeah, right. And that actually increases burnout. If we don't celebrate and if we don't get the rest we need, burnout increases. And it's quite logical in that way because we need a celebration and some pause before moving on to the next goal. A clap on the shoulder sounds very simple and easy, but it's actually one of the top reasons when I talk to employees in companies that uses our software. A lot of employees say that they lack a clap on the shoulder from their manager, from the CEO, and I think that's quite easy to just give a little bit more claps around the company.
I think it's because of also COVID didn't allow people to have this face-to-face.
No. Exactly. It's very difficult to do a clap on the shoulder when everyone
You don't feel connected anymore so much.
Yeah.
We had the issue in our company because we always said that what people, what drives people in Philips to work harder or to be with us for many years.
Yeah.
People always say it's not about salary, it's not less about development, but more about the culture, Philips culture. But those who are coming during the COVID last 2 years, especially they say, we're actually asking what is Philips culture because we don't feel it anymore. Because we're sitting with our monitors somewhere in remote distant office, talking to people. We have to improve some processes with people we never seen before. And because it's verbal communication, it's 2080, you don't see even, you don't feel. No. Especially if you have meetings more than 5 people and some don't even switch on cameras.
No. Yeah, there's a lot of like interaction that disappears there.
I think that's probably
definitely. Take action fast. Don't let small problems become big. I think this is also easy to forget. You have like a little thing going on in a team, and then you think time is solved it, and let it be, and then it grows, and it can grow quite fast. A special case, entrepreneurship, also growing trend over the last decade, to let employees start companies within the company. And I think this is a smart way to keep talents that maybe have like an entrepreneur side of themselves, to let them go out there instead of them leaving the company, taking a lot of risks and doing it maybe an idea that is really good. And grow, they can do that within the company with the help from the company and keep that talent. And a client of us, Queensland, they've been doing this quite successfully. So it's a tech consultant company that has been growing quite fast during the past years. picture of them on the left there. They're working a lot with their culture, been doing a lot of like special initiatives. Every Thursday afternoon, all employees can focus on themselves, to educate themselves in something that they like. They do like workshops in-house. So all consultants are free Thursday afternoon. They can be flexible around that, of course, but they always have that time weekly. And that's something that is really popular within the company. They have had a very low staff turnover. And just recently, like the last year, they started with entrepreneurship. So they had some employees that wanted to leave and do their own company. And instead, they kept them and started or helped them to start a company within the company. So now they have 3 subsidiaries in total, where employees or previous employees are the CEO or running the company. Sigma Technology has also done this successfully, and I think they have around 25 subsidiaries today, where companies are operating themselves. So yeah, give them enough reasons to stay instead of having companies leaving to start a company, which is quite quite normal. I think there's a lot of upside for the doing it in-house instead. We go with the risk and get support with HR, financial, etc. from the management of the company. Another thing that I think is really important is to have a feedback loop. This can be offline, can be online, but I think we need to measure what is working and what is not from the initiatives that we're taking. So I believe a lot in sending out short but specific service to do it continuously, weekly, monthly, and practice all the time. And there's several players on the market, so we're not alone in this space. And I think the most important thing is to find the best fit for the organization, of course. And this is a step how it can look like that. Employee surveys are sent out. The employees can respond really fast and anonymously, and then results are collected and presented automatically to HR and management. And then you can take action and then repeat and see have we seen any changes. And then I think it's really important to follow up in real time. And as we talked about, small problems that can become big. I think it's important to take action fast and make adjustments according to the feedback you receive. And in order for people to do it, I think the feedback needs to be super easy. And yeah, it needs to be very obvious that you should do it. So we are recommending our clients to ask maximum 5 questions per survey. And we're using quite graphic interface as well, because I also believe that makes it easier and a bit fun to answer. And then people will do it. All right, so to sum up a little bit, why should we work actively with employee engagement and feedback loops? To detect problems in time and prevent small problems to become big. Increase efficiency. If we can understand how our employees are feeling, we can also distribute the tasks easier. If we know how our staff really feel. Act quickly. We have a continuous feedback loop that can also be on the one-to-one that you have with the managers. You can also get fast feedback, take action, and keep talents instead of them leaving the company. Measure the results of development initiatives both in short and long term. I usually recommend our clients to send a survey before doing a change and then afterwards to follow up what the effect the change had. And the end game is to save money and create a winning culture, because that's super important, of course, to grow and maintain company, to have a winning culture, and to keep stuff. Is that? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre.
Thank you.
Any questions to Andre before we go over to David?
I have one big quick. So about the tool.
Yeah.
As any tool, if it's not used right, it won't work. So
Exactly.
the companies that took start using it, most of the bigger ones, were they able to make it work? Because if you say it often, people will maybe not do it because it's very repetitive, unless, as you said, they actually are actions right away. But that's a very big cultural change. The bigger the company is, the harder it is. So just a bigger company able to take the tool, use it right, or take the tool and just be work.
Yeah, I've seen like both, of course, successful cases and cases where it hasn't worked. I think the best like success case in that matter is ISS Facility. That is the leading company when it comes to facility management. Most of their employees are actually blue collars. They started to use the tool 2019, I think, and then gradually they used it for more and more employees and teams, which I think was a good strategy to do, because like over time you can see that more managers started to get involved with the tool, which was the key, because first it was only driven by HR, and I think if you keep the tool only with HR, you will not reach the entire organization. So I think it was key that they really distributed it out to the managers or stakeholders as well in the tool. And then they sent out, I think on the last survey they sent out, they had like plus 80% response frequency, which is really high when you consider the branch they are in and the industry they're in, and how many of their employees that have, they go like out on jobs, answering to their phone. They're not used to use electronic or software in this sense. So that's a really good successful case. But I think the key was to really involve the managers on all levels in order to do it.
Yeah, and I think scaling was also helpful because they can change the culture more.
Gradually, yeah. Now, but we actually recommend that to larger organizations to start with a little team of maybe 50, 100 people, and then go up to 500, and then go up to 2,000, 3,000, or how many there. Yeah, I think so. Yes.
I'm back to the question you mentioned before. One of the reasons we burnout is that usually we don't celebrate success.
Yeah.
I would like to ask you if you can define celebrate, or better, what are the best ways of celebration that you have in mind?
Good question. I think it's very up to the culture you have in the company and what your team like. And I also think that it's good to adjust it to the team that you have. Maybe one team appreciate going out, having a dinner, taking some drinks. Maybe another team appreciate going on a kickoff somewhere, sleep over somewhere. So I think it really, it really matters what team you have. Maybe it could be enough to just have a champagne breakfast with some nice breakfast arrangement and some sparkling wine, just to celebrate a big deal or a big project that's come to an end. Fairly easy. It doesn't cost that much for the company. Yeah. So I think it really depends on the team. And I think as a manager, you probably know your team best and what they like. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I know that it's good for blue colors and white color.
Yes.
Have you seen any difference between the responding rate between the two groups? Is there any pattern? Who are more active?
we have, it's a, like, generally you have to work a little bit more with blue collars. And that's the case generally. But then it's again a lot with the culture within the company. So we can also see blue collar companies that have very high response frequency and white collars that have very, very low response frequency. They really have to fight for the response frequency. In general, I think that the onboarding and like how engaged they, because I have sold habit work to some companies that only wanted to check a box, like they wanted to have something. And often in those cases, I see that the response frequency is failing after a couple of weeks. So I think it's really important to have a really engaged, main stakeholder in the company that can really distribute the service and the new way of doing the feedback loop. But in general, more you have to often fight a little bit more for the blue collar than the white collar, in my experience.
I guess you stay longer so we can ask you questions.
Yes, I'll be here.
I want to say that Andre will be here after the panel discussion as well, so if you have further questions.
Sure.
So thank you, Andre.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
I would like to ask David to come on stage and just highlight some key insights from your experience.
Very kind stage. Very kind. Step up.
Yeah.
Hi, Kamara. Okay, thank you, Martha. To show some nice gifts with cats and
Next
Okay.
time.
well, it's hard to motivate anybody with cats and gifts. So, so I appreciate the time being here. So, I wanted to start to discuss a bit emotion before we jump into what the motivation is, because the motivation, it's complex things. You will see that because we will discuss with some smart people in a panel after me, and they will introduce you why it's very complex. But first of all, I wanted to discuss the emotion, and then I will introduce you to how can we connect this emotion motivation in our job, because I'm an advisor. So my name is David Hordak. I'm representing CBR River Space Experience team now. This is a very new team, and we are focusing in advisory part, the experience, the employee experience, workspace experience, and such things. So, and this advisory part is very important on emotion. So just jump back to the Andre's slides back to happiness. It's very hard to say I'm happy at work, right? So if we started to discussing with my friends and my colleagues and ask, okay, are you happy at work? Maybe not. Yes, also not, unfortunately. And it's very hard to say that, but we are living in a big relationship with our companies, our mates, our colleagues, friends, whatever, and we should be happy with them, right? So, but most of us, it's not happy with them. Just jump back to our childhood, if you remember, or if you have a child, you can see that children in the big community is always be really passionate, right? So they are happy to do something. They are really living the situation and they really love it. This is what we want to achieve with the companies during our job, because this passion in the community is very important for us because we can translate it to money, right? So this is what we wanted to do. So I need to keep it focused. So this is why I have some paper. So, okay, how many people can say that, so my job helps me to be myself? It's very hard, because if you can do this, if you can say that, so our job, our company let me be myself, it means you are working in a very amazing company. How many people can say that I'm working in a very amazing company? It's not too much people, unfortunately. So, but we're very familiar in other words like stress. You're waking up every day, working to do something very hard, and actually you don't love too much. It means you are in stress. And everybody know that the stress is going to be kill us end of the day, of course. But in the opposite side, if you are working very hard and you are love your job, you love the circumstances in your workplaces, it means passion. The passion means you really love the job, and as I say, we can translate money and numbers. It's very important. How many people were in the same situation when you're sitting in a dinner with your friends in a big table, and just in casual discussing, and then somebody say, okay, actually I love my job. Most of the people in the table just watching around, okay, you are lucky. But it's not a lucky thing. It's not a privilege to love your job. And again, it's emotion. All of them, it's emotion. And this bunch of the emotion, we call it in a professional way, it's motivation. We use this kind of method, emotion during our job to motivate the people. But it's a trick because most of the people wanted to motivate by their leader. And the question is, who is responsible for your motivation? What is the real motivation? Where does it come from? Is from your leader? I don't think so. And we will discuss about that in a panel with my panelists, but we think that the motivation comes from inside. It's an inner fire. It's something you have to light up, and then you have to keep it in a long term in your life. And as you are a leader, as you are an advisor or consultant or whatever, you have to orient this kind of motivation for your people. I really believe that. So the orientation, the communication, and inspiration is very important if you wanted to increase our employees, our partners, clients' motivation. We use this kind of tools. It's not astrophysics, right? So it sounds like it's very easy, but you should be human because you are working with humans. We are working with people. So this is the reason why the motivation is really, really emotional, and we have to work with the emotion. But we have some of the theories and hypotheses how can we motivate the people. But I wanted to ask my panelists to invite to the panel, so for the stage. So it's a very kind stage, and start the discussion about these topics. Right? Is it okay for you?
Yes.
Okay.
I will ask for help to
Okay.
to move the chairs to the stage.
Okay.
It's a fitness activity.
Yeah. This is the first thing. Yeah. So I wanted to introduce my panelists. So first of all, Zsuzsanna, who representing ING and HR. You're the HR director and representing the in the city. Christoph representing Batson Group as a product manager and the leader of the big team. And Gabor, please. Gabor. Yes, I know that. Gabor representing Synapse. He's the most talented consultant and product developer. Sorry. So this is our team, and as you see, we have a very diverse team with different aspects, and I'm really curious what's going to happen in the next 1 hour. So thank you. Yes, some questions. So
Thank you so much for putting the stress on us.
how are you today? What do you make? Okay, So let's jump in the middle. So in my previous speech, I stated some theories. So what is the motivation, how does it come from, and this kind of thing. But I'm really curious, what do you think about it? What is the motivation? How can you describe it? And how do you today? And very briefly, who are you? And what is the connection between you and the motivation?
I go first, or ladies first?
No, oh,
So it's a question exactly like what is motivation for me?
Yes.
So in a short, we can say it's enabling people to do the best work possible. Or as you mentioned, you say inner fire, I would say a small flame inside of them. So, sometimes people wake up, they're like, oh, Monday. So you don't want that feeling. You're like, oh, Monday, I'm going to work. You're at least happy to go. Or a little bit, not like, oh, I will go again. So that's what you want to have. And then, as Andre mentioned before, when you have that to different levels, the more the better, you get a lot of benefits. But I guess we'll talk a bit more into that. And I think the second part was, how do I feel about motivation? I don't know. I like to work with positive people because I'm a positive person myself. And I think motivation helps get the best of them. And that's something that makes me happy. So maybe that's a motivation for me as well, to make people feel happy and have that flame as big as possible.
We are looking for happy people now. Okay, Lucia?
Yeah, when I made the preparation for this discussion, I also looked at the Wikipedia because I think that's the easiest source of finding a nice definition. And I found a short definition for the motivation, and naturally long. I don't know how many pages. But actually, all of the definitions had one common feature, and that was that motivation is somehow a feature which really triggered action. And to me, this is very important because motivation is not just a kind of, the summary of kind of emotions, but really something which gives the energy.
It's a play.
Sorry?
It's a game or something like that, or matches.
Could be. But the interesting part is that not just the action, which is really linked to the motivation, but also you can have some kind of desire to do something. It's not necessarily that you do something, you are not there yet, but you have such a passion, the feeling that you want to do that. And I think this is the good feeling which everybody would love to do. And I fully believe that make the same simple. I also learned lots of theories, but I believe in the most simple theories. So if you want to see your colleagues or even yourself be happy and to feel being motivated, the thing what we are looking for goes back to our childhood when we were in the flow, always, as you said, running in the kindergarten. Or really earlier when we were so interested in the things of the world, in the new things that we were really happy to do, and we didn't want to finish it. And that is the energy, that is the feeling that we would like to feel. Right?
In a previous discussion, you mentioned some words for this kind of situation. So how can we say that? But the important was for me, and it was very interesting to see the kids, they physically change and physically react this kind of curiosity and I don't know how can I say it, big eyes, big ear,
exactly, it's very visible.
Very visible.
Yeah, and that's a so-called function, and it can be used in the therapy as well. But when you see a children, you see the big eyes, like the big lens of a photo camera, open to the world, and also the curiosity noise, which in Hungarian we have a very nice statement that better to the zorodat every remember, so you put your noise to everything. But yeah, it's physically visible, and it's changing from time to time. I mean, during the time and people or children go to the kindergarten and they go to school and the rules, and they need to be, somehow directed and even they are blocked. But yeah, that's a very interesting thing that it's feasible.
Yeah, well,
For me, this is a hard topic, and I think motivation is personal. It's a personal problem, and demotivation is a business problem. But you ask about motivation. Motivation to me is a feeling. It's we feel motivated or don't feel motivated, and I could even describe it as like drive. And you've talked about children before, and I think they have this drive that they want to see the world. They have expectations sort of, or they're getting the first expectations in life. And when it comes to adult, most of us I think in the room, and when it comes to work, I think demotivation rises and motivation disappears when our expectations are not met and we're disappointed. We expected, or let's say I expected my manager to tap me on the shoulder that good job, and he was like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, oh shit. I thought I'm not it. Okay, whatever. And it's just one thing that would start to turn my motivation into something else. And simply because, in my opinion, this is a feeling, and trust me, I've tried, but it's impossible to put feelings into people. Feelings are our own. And even if we say that you made me feel like that, it's not true. Something inside us made us feel like whatever. This is just a language thing that the other person made me feel something, and I don't think it's true. But if we go into this way, we're gonna be into philosophy and psychology. Yeah, slippery slope. So forgive me for bringing this up, but it's important to say that this is a very personal thing.
Yeah.
And trying to solve it with the workplace, with business tools, how to motivate people and drive people. I think that's kind of a pointless topic because there's just no end to it. And one more point I wrote down is that I noticed that today, to me, it seems that we talk about motivation in binary terms. Yes or no. Are you motivated or no?
Yeah.
And I think more of a scale, basically. You can be 100, you can be 50, and at 50, you might still be feeling motivated or not. I think this depends on the person. So I think it's an interesting point to look at it as a scale of them, yes or no, 0 or 1.
Yeah. It's always it's a weapon that always tries to kill us because we ask, okay, are you motivated? Are you happy? Are you engaged? These kind of things, and end of the day, the results is going to be just a number, and we have to see. This is my personal experience. We have to see the person, the people, the human behind this number. So motivation level in the company and engagement level in the company. Okay, it's nice. What's the thing? And it's very important to discuss about it. But I know that so your application measures these kind of things, but this is my experience is this is just a big starting point to start the discussion, the real discussion, or arguing with other. What do you think about that?
No, but I think it is. I think it's like a source of feedback, knowledge about how it is within the company. Then you have to like go down on an individual level and try to understand really what motivates the individual and what drives that person.
Getting or connecting to your point. I think in your presentation you showed the results of a survey that you've asked people how happy are you at work, right?
Yeah.
Well, I have a beef with surveys, to be honest. I used to love them. Now I hate them kind of. No, I don't. But you have to use them
because you didn't see the good survey, actually.
I have, but really a few. And whenever, because with a workplace research tool, we also used to do a lot of surveys. Now we do less and less. And in the past, we have asked questions like, how much are you satisfied with the air quality, with the furniture, with the interior, with your manager, with your work? How happy are you? And I realized that we're basically asking about feelings. And
as a research expert, I have no idea that yes answer or that hell yeah answer on a Monday. Is it true on a Tuesday? Is it true on a Wednesday? Is it true a week later, a month later? And mostly why the person said that. And on a survey to say, yeah, I'm an 8 on this scale, or I feel like this on this scale, which might be true that day, but when weeks later, I will sit down and try to get something out of this report and tell to the client that, hey, you might need to do something here or not. It's really hard for me to defend that answer, which behind it is a feeling. And I don't think that a good consultant should be a good actor, just trying to, or a magician mostly trying to sprinkle smartness onto not so solid numbers. And I think this is a tricky area when you measure feelings, especially about how do you feel now or how would you feel in the future. Sorry for picking this.
No worries at all. But I think it's really, about getting the first insight. You might have problem within.
That's true.
Isolated.
It's a good first measure.
Exactly, like just like a phase measure, and then you have to do more than just keep on.
Valid point.
Measuring.
Valid point. Yeah.
I think you can measure mostly external factors with surveys like this. But then if you want to know the intrinsic reasons to motivate someone, that's individual. And that you can only go, discussion, that's communication. But the surveys for a wider audience are a problem like is remote or hybrid working from you. Is this set up from the office? Do you have enough meetings? That's something.
That's a very dangerous question. It's always
We always just say the yes. We have 22.
See?
Exactly.
How many employees? How many employees?
150. The 22 meeting rooms from the one, the one person. We were lucky because we started to renovate the office just before the COVID. And they turned to the direction to build the office, rebuild the office.
Do you have a desk for every employee?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That is something. Okay.
That's the kind of question. Like, how do you feel about sharing the desk? That can come on the survey. That's external, and you can see the motivation.
I would add that what I've learned about surveys, and I had to go to school to learn this. It's not like I woke up and I learned it. And then I've learned that with surveys, the best thing is always ask about the recent past, not 1 year ago, 2 years ago, but something recent that employees can still remember. Or if you ask someone, how do you feel about that desk sharing? Before that question, ask, have you had recent experience with desk sharing? And when was it? 6 months, 5 years, 10 years? Because based on that, you can score basically how solid that, yes, I feel motivated or I feel good about it or I'm afraid. But as we said, these kind of answers can be just a good first stage of, this number is low or high. You should go after it, do interviews and do workshops and try to understand the why. I think it was in your presentation to go after the why, not just you have a number, KPI done, put in the presentation to the board, and we're gonna clap, not on the shoulder sadly, and then there's nothing really happened.
Yeah, but as you said, so this topic, all of the motivation stuff and all of the understanding stuff, it depends on the time, and you have to spend time, lots of time, because most of the project, like an office project, refurbished projects. So as I know, that's has almost new office spaces. The ING has new office spaces. Gabriel representative, she has preparing thousands of offices in Europe. So it means most of the office project, it's a great tool to motivate people, involve the people, communicate with them as the feelings and measuring different kind of stuff. But my personal experience is most of the companies spend less time than should be enough, and then the results is very fancy, and you can nominate in different kind of awards, and okay, it's cool, but in behind, externally, it's shit. So because they didn't spend too much time to discuss real discussion, didn't spend the time to real discussion and the real curiosity of the employees. So think about it. How could you do that? So, or maybe did you involve the people in the big project, invest in IMP, and honestly, so I'm really curious about what you see in the recent years about that. So please.
So I think there is several levels. As I was trying to say, if you go for more external motivational factors, then surveys asking ideally will help. You cannot make everybody that. Like if you choose a new office, some people will be further, some will be closer. You try to do the best you can. And then the company on a certain level, that's the company level, our decisions. Ideally, you listen to people. Because if you don't listen or you fake listen to your words, then that's not going to work. Then if you want to focus a bit more into involving them, there is several ways. Like if you create a new office, you can ask them how many meetings to meet on this or that. It makes them engage, which again, for many people, is an ownership, makes them motivated. You can ask them, okay, let's choose meeting names, groups names.
Yeah.
Let's not go for Paris and usual names. What do you guys want? You make a poll. It makes them engage. Gives them something. And then that's more into physical stuff. And again, that would be into higher management or higher levels. And then for real deep down individual, then we focus to look at the team leads and above that, ones are very close to individuals, to be able to ask many questions to actually understand what each individual is motivated by and try to enable them the best they can. So I think there is different layers depending on what you want to do.
Chris, I really believe that if we use surveys, either full survey or pulse survey, so the shorter surveys, I really would like to understand the reasons behind that. Therefore, we very often use the deep dive sessions, discussion with colleagues, and that really gives the meaning of a number. And we did almost continuously when we did the more observation. For example, before we started, I was in the came here just for inspiration. Also, we worked together with the partners and worked together with our head office to help us participate people. Informant, that's important. And it can be motivating for those people who are motivated by that one. And leaders have a very strong point because leaders need to know that what motivates people. Because if I involve someone who's really just hates to talk to others or so introverted, that person is not going to be motivated at all. That's really a different, a kind of penalty for him or her. Yeah, involving colleagues, and that was the way, for example, how we understood that yes, the sharing is a very nice and popular concept. Our colleagues hate.
Sorry?
They really like to keep
They
really like to keep their table. So do I really want them to come back, to push them to come back to the office and tell them that choose another table, not yours? Why? They like it. Doesn't mean anything. It means something for them and nothing to me. I can, make them motivated and try to find out everything, not to come back to the office if they need to share their desk with someone. I want them to feel themselves at home. Do I push my children to, I don't know, to use another room in every second week? No, they want to feel a comfortable situation. So I don't want to do that.
I think your point that, for you it may not be a problem, but for them it is. That's the important point. Like, we are all different. Exactly.
Do
So
it
we
for
need to
them.
consider them and not, for me it's fine, so yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
That's a big mistake that shouldn't be done. Everybody's different, but it feels different.
Yeah, well,
There's so many things here.
yeah.
I really like that to make notes.
Well, I would like to connect to first involvement. As you mentioned, you brought up a very big topic, especially close to my heart, is introversion and extroversion. And with my work, I do a lot of workshops and interviews, and one of the hardest things is how do you handle someone who's having a bad day, who's an introvert and not really feeling comfortable with opening up, talking. or just tired. You know, it can be anything. And I would like to argue with what you just said. I think an introverted person still, I think they are even more motivated to open up. It's just hard for them because they are afraid, they are not used to, they might not trust that they get valued, or if the company has a culture, which many companies, especially in Hungary, tend to have. That whenever you ask the wrong question or at the wrong time, you are punished. And this problem might be starting from school, at least when I was in school 30 years ago or something. When you raise your hand at a highly chance that the teacher would be like, don't, stupid, how come you don't know? We learned this the last week, and why do you ask? And I think it's a horrible, horrible thing to teach at any age. Don't ask questions. It might be a dumb question, but we should encourage that. But getting back to involvement, involvement should have a role and a goal why to involve people. And I think the biggest risk is when someone's trying to outsource the decision making. And I'm talking about the office now. Like, tell us how many works in a week you would like to work from home. Most surveys, I think 99% of us have filled out surveys like this, how many days you would like to work from home. And if you said 4, let's say 4, and the board might say, I'm giving you 2, because they think that is what they need. And it's never a good idea to outsource this. And when it comes to our work with offices, we always emphasize that the goal is not to outsource the decision-making and ownership. That's the management's role or board's role or facilities role or whoever is doing that. The employee's role with involvement is, as you said, just try to understand the whys, try to make the decision-making easier. So when those people sit down with the architect or with a consultant, okay, how many meetings we should do? Should we do a big one, a small one? Should we do lounges? Should we do silent rooms? Should we do big, small, or how big the office should be? Those are really tough things to answer, because even if you're an expert, I don't know your company, I don't know how you work. I can tell you what my previous project was like, or one before. And here involvement is helpful, but it's only a tool. And I think it's true that involving people can boost motivation because they've been asked, they're part of it. But with involvement should come communication as well. And sadly, more cases than not, this goes like a simple email. Hey guys, you are very important. We're doing this with you. Blah 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 blah. Please join the workshop. Blah 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 blah. And the employees don't have a chance to give feedback, and especially they don't get off the cap. Let's say they will not be communicated mostly. I'm trying to find this all the time. That hey guys, you've taken part in workshops months ago. Here's the outcome. This is what is coming from you. You've asked for this. Sadly, you cannot do that because it's possible with money and space. But give feedback and treat them as adults. If you ask their opinion about something, which is a great thing, but then give them feedback. And I think that's even more motivating when you treat someone as an adult. You've asked for something. This is possible. This is not. This will happen later. And a good manager or a good leader or HR person or just a good human should be comfortable with doing this. But I don't think we practice this enough. This honesty or just being comfortable with talking about the no's and the not possible. So it might be another pandemic when we're trying to sugarcoat everything and make it look better than it actually is. And I think most employees can handle the sorry, we cannot do that. You should give them a reason why.
Yes, because you listen as you should, but you really listen, give it a try, not just give me ideas and then you just don't do anything. Just decide what you decide.
Exactly.
So that's the difference.
Exactly. But you must always say that this is what I've heard from you. This is what you said. Because with this, you can counter any kind of feedback. But it's not what I said, but I give you my opinion. Just always give back the facts. Listen, either the numbers, the outcomes, whatever possible it's not, and always thank them. This is getting back to the clap on the shoulder and celebrating things. And if these things are important for a company, involvement, honest, talking about problems, making the office better, or trying to make people feel home at the office. The company should talk about it rather than on every presentation. Repeat it, repeat it, and then people can just understand what really seems important. I see that or people will be easier to feel important if it's constantly repeated that you are important, you are listened to, and I think this is one serious driver of motivation. Communication.
Yes, so as I have,
Big
as I,
transparent.
yeah, as I understand, and if I wanted to underline some major parts, it's the transparency, involvement, be honest, be human, it's very important. And but actually, I didn't heard any kind of material goods, like like money, like physical space, like I don't know, company car. What about that? So the motivation, it's how connect the motivation to and this kind of feelings. How can we connect these material goods and like salary? Or is it possible to connect them or not? Or is it basic? So what do you think?
Well, it's two things again. We have the external, which is that, salary, stuff like that, cars, traveling, every perk we can give. And then we have the internal. Ideally, at least that's what I say, I don't want to hire mercenaries. I don't want to overpay everybody. So that's not what I'm looking for. But they need to have, first of all, we need to be competitive. Because there is a point that no matter how motivated they are at your company, if they get a salary offer 30, 40, 50% higher, and on my case, like IT manager, it happened often, then we can very hardly say no to that. The world is expensive. Buying a house is more expensive for us than it was for our parents and my parents. And at some point, you need to go for what is important as well. Ideally, it's a package. So everything that the company offers you, plus the external, like salary, perks, altogether is a balance, even the hybrid or the remote. And then it's ideally to each individual to see what is the balance. If you cater for everything internal, like motivation, like what everything motivated, like it can be trust, autonomy, respect, creativity. So all those factors that will motivate them in their work from inside, that flame, with the external altogether should balance that they will be happy at work.
It would be beautiful if more leaders would speak like you. In many cases, the leaders, when they are really, I think, and when they really feel that they don't have anything else, they come to our office and say, I want to give more money. But yeah, just to be serious, we would like to believe that we are rational, I don't know, creatures, although we are very emotional, as human beings. And if somebody is happy and everything is together, I mean, all part of the package, which has, I believe, a significant part of company culture, the leader, whether that person really knows when my birthday is, it is important to me. And just to pick up the phone for me, or remember that last week I had some kind of bad days and I said, okay, how you feel yourself? So such a small things. Really, this part of the company culture and also the internal things, the content of the job, whether I like what I do, whether I have enough authority, I have enough freedom to do my job on my way, or no, whether it is okay for me or not. So all this part of the package is really important. And yes, and the financial part also exists because, again, you mentioned during our discussion the Maslow pyramid. Yeah, again, a basic thing. Everybody knows who is a leader or an HR person. There are levels on the Maslow pyramid. And if the company card for someone is a basic thing because it needs to commute from one place to another place and the transportation, the public transportation is not okay, he seems to use something.
Yeah.
But there are people for whom the company car is really a prestige, which is 3 levels higher on the pyramid.
Yeah.
But we need to understand it. What is important in a company car for a woman? I just ask you, ladies. Tell me 2 words. What is important if you have a company car?
Efficiency. Efficiency.
efficiency, yeah, maybe the color, whether I can put the children in the back, and that's all. And if I ask it from a man,
That's good.
ah, yeah, Jim.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
The brand.
Right.
Exactly. So these things, okay, we cannot serve everybody the different type of solutions, but at least try to, if I have the chance and if I have the power to make the decision, and as a company has a kind of autonomy to do that, why don't I do that?
And what's going to be the next? If you reach this kind of balance, right? So what's going to be the next? The experience, or to give some, basketball fluids, something like that, or I don't know. So I'm really curious. What's going to be next after you reach this balance? So between the company car and the culture, you can provide anything else or surplus.
I think in every company there are lots of people who are hungry for new things, who are hungry for learning things, who are hungry for new experiences, who would like to do the thing, their job easier.
Mm.
So this also can motivate, or at least if we create it, we just bring out or take out the demotivation, one of the reasons.
Well, it's good to mention that we don't need their motivation because it's the type of our panel.
Yeah, but speak about motivation.
I will speak about motivation.
But it exists, so you cannot ignore it. You
Yeah.
have motivation, and the motivation, and as you said, just a scale that,
Yeah,
and it's a good sign.
yeah,
If I feel that I have a headache, I know that I didn't drink enough water. That's exactly the same. So if I have a kind of, self-knowledge, I know that if I feel kind of demotivated, and it's not just a bad mood because of something, but it's a bit longer, then let's look at myself in the mirror and what is happening is what I do not like. And if I'm lucky, then I can talk about it with my leader.
Self-reflection.
same question to you, gamblers.
Yeah, well, I think
Material things and not material things.
Yeah,
Nature,
really
culture.
that you brought up the master pyramid, because I also made a note of it. So I wanted to talk about that. But I think the idea of a higher salary motivates people. That's something you can work for. But the moment you have it, the moment it's your bank account, the moment you sign the contract, this is something I deserve. This is the minimum I should have. Anything below, I'm around that. So trying to motivate people with money, you can, but it's a very short thing, and it will get people in the door. It will get people to start to work on something. But after that, just the money part will disappear, and you ask about what else, what's next, and I think company culture, and what company culture is, that it's a completely different kind of topic. To me, it's always maybe next time. To me, it's the everyday behavior of the people, not just the management, but everyone in the company. How do you treat when someone's late from a meeting? How do you treat when someone makes a mistake? How do you treat when someone cries, when someone laughs, when someone freaks out? How do you treat a client problem? How do you treat high risk, whatever? Anything. Just how do you treat it on an everyday basis, and bringing it into the topic of the office and the maps of the pyramid. I think in Hungary, at least in the last 10 years, if you talk about the leaders in the market, we're way past the first 1 or 2 levels of the pyramid, just giving comfort and safety. Hopefully nowhere any company is talking about, we have heating, we have aircon, openable windows. That's still something to say. But most
and it's the access to public transport.
Sure. but just the basic common fact is that the space, that the interior space you can give someone, that's a gift that you have at least mid-level quality office, the covering, the carpet, the ceiling, the location itself, the building itself, the furniture, of course, itself. That's a minimum. And this is one really important topic we haven't talked about. So for goals and vision, if you have goals that you want to attract the top talent, you want to innovate, you want to get extra market share, you want to win 100 more customers or expand into new locations, and you need top talent for that, then you might need to look at how can I get talent in the door. Salary is one, the work places one. So by salary, I mean the package. You have company cars, gym pass, health insurance. HR people, you can know this much better than I do. But there's so much more, and I think culture and just the everyday behavior. And as people said, employees don't leave companies, they leave managers. And at the end of the day, I know this is a bit of a hyped up quote. It's easy to just throw around, but and it's more complicated than that. But this is really getting back to trust and communication and involvement. And how do you treat when things go wrong? And how do you treat when things go right? Do you celebrate? Do you make a case out of it? Do you take that one mistake and educate people with a celebration sort of mixed in that everyone, we've made a mistake, we've lost $1 million about it, but that's fine because we have $1 billion in the bank, let's say, but we've learned the lesson. This is the lesson. From now on, we're changing the rule or we're changing something. And something like this for the person who made that mistake. Just imagine if you lost $1 million to your company. You want to hang yourself, probably, if you're a decent person. But if your manager deals with it, that hey, it's fine, you've made a mistake, you're not gonna get fired, you're still gonna keep your company car, you are safe. But let's use this as an opportunity to let's not make this mistake again. And let's go after why this mistake was up. Maybe it was not the person's fault, it was just, I don't know, a freak of nature thing, or it could be anything, but then let's try to use it. And this is what the role of a good manager should step in. And it's not the CEO. In most cases, they don't have enough time. But the CEO and then the high level management can show a good example and can repeat and do training or education or any kind of culture shaping effects of how middle management or the management who actually handles the everyday issues and the everyday workflows, how they can handle these things better. And in the office, as I said in the beginning, it's just a comfort factor. And in most cases, I'm talking about not companies but brands. It's a brand communication tool as well, and getting that to the vision. If the company has a vision, they want to be the best in their industry or field. The office is a great tool, but it's just one tool. On its own, it will not solve anything. Probably you know this as well, David. When we talk to companies, it's always just about the whys. Or like, why are you trying to get? Why do you want this super nice but kind of expensive? Because it will be good for 20 years and not 5 years. You can change the textile on it anytime. It will look good in 10 years as well because of the design and so on and so on. You must understand why. Why do you need this? Another different chip.
But you mentioned, sorry, early on, before you mentioned salary, people want to attract top talent because they want to do this, that, and that, be disruptive on the market, be the best. I think that by itself was an answer because you give them the salary, you can bring them in, you can maintain them because it's prestige, it's
short term.
Yes, it's me feeling that I'm being paid what I bring to the table. So it's kind of a fast pattern. But once that is given, it feels empty with nothing else behind. And what you said is already 7 points. If you join us, if you stay with us, we want to be the best. We want to be super innovative. We want to do this and that. And that will be much more into working to the internal motivation than just a salary. We cannot live up long with just showing salary, cars, and other perks. It helps at first, but by itself it is not.
It's very shallow.
Yes, it is shallow.
Sounds like you have some experience in that because you are in the tricky sector, right? So,
I think after we work a couple of years, we learned that money is important, but if the daily work people you work with are bad, then you'd rather have a bit less salary and enjoy coming on the money.
Can I share here something? I've been in Bulgaria 4 or 5 years ago when for IT. I forgot the name of the company. So they're the biggest IT company in Bulgaria, owned by KPMG or they were Bull Pros or Bull, something like this. Yeah. And they're a huge company, thousands of employees back 4 or 5 years ago. And I went as a workplace expert, trying to sell them services and furniture, of course. And I've noticed that they had IKEA furniture, not the good IKEA, like the cheaper shit IKEA that's the charity. And I wondered, hey, I was IKEA furniture. And I saw that the IKEA store is right next door. So I probably because it's close by. That wasn't easy. And then they told me that cardboard is fairly simple. For us, furniture is not important. The office is not important. And I thought, wow, it can help you attract talent and keep talent, quality. I said all the right sales. Bullshit. Yeah. They were like, but that doesn't matter for us. I said, why? They said, our employees leave after one project, and they don't hire employees on a long term. They provide short term consultancy to everyone. And I said, why? They said, because this is what people need. They don't come here working for salary at a company and Microsoft, they can have it everywhere. They come here to learn, to work on projects they cannot work anywhere else. And then they take that knowledge and that they will leave. And they try for years to try to keep the salary, with the nicer office, with better packages. But they realize that this is not what the people want to leave. Let them leave. And what they did, I was so surprised that they have an internal recruitment company, 200 employees, only recruiting non-stop IT people from all over the US. So they changed them, and that's why they buy cheap IKEA shit. Because they're spending money there, getting it here. And I was like, okay, I gotta do anything here. I mean, see, like what I said.
Let's jump back to balance, right? So it's another balance.
Yes, and for them at that time, they might change it because I think as a company brand matures, you after a while you just cannot afford to look cheap. I mean, just imagine if you have a CEO here in very cheap clothes or being dirty, that takes nothing away from its abilities, from its CV. But you're like, I don't really believe that you're a good person or a good expert because you look cheap. And after a while, or you have to be the Steve Jobs of the world and stuff like that. You can afford that. But I think it's how do you look? It still matters, especially after a certain.
It's almost you care. If you don't care to present yourself.
Yeah, I think because we think that if someone treats himself this way, we treat the company and the clients and everything that way. To be really special someone to convince people that you just don't care about this, but care about everything else.
Fortunately, our time is running out, so I think so. In the last round, question or topic questions. So how can you describe key takeaways for the audience about motivation, or how can we share some tools or box solution if it's possible?
Well, I was hoping you could ask some question as well, but my take is there's the two parts as we mentioned, in internal and external. I still feel the internal, like this line was mentioned, is to be individual. So the closer the managers are, the better they can enable that and help. And then the external in some higher level decisions to be higher levels of management. The importance is really communication, listen, like really listen and show that you care about them. That they're not just a number on an Excel sheet, that they are people with different needs, different personalities. And if you do that, like Gabor said, like if you actually, even if you say no, but you should listen, consider their concerns, that goes a long way. And then every individual will be motivated by different things. Some people want to be left alone, some want to take responsibilities, some want to be creative, some want like challenging work, disruptive, be the leaders. So it depends on each person.
For me, that the motivation is not something, not a ghost. in another room. This is something very useful. It can be a kind of trigger point, and we need to take care about it in time, as soon as possible, when the problem is still small. Yeah, to do that, the personal relation.
Well, very brief.
I would try.
You prefer too much notes, I think, so.
I think as an advice, what I would like to share is what worked for me. And it's when I stopped blaming other people. You know, I stopped blaming the weather, the manager, the country, prime minister, and so on. And instead I was like, okay, this is my life, and as part of it, I can't control. So I need to learn to accept it as it is. And then I've taken a look into myself, okay, like what's inside of it? What do I even want? And that took years, and I still don't really understand it. I read books about it. I went to therapy. I talked to coaches, and I think the biggest advice is to stop blaming. Take a look into yourself and look for help. It can be a book, it can be a podcast. Listen to our podcast. This is an ad, by the way. Listen to it, please. Yeah, just stop blaming and pay attention to yourself and ask for help. Once you understand what do you need and what motivates you, just tell it to your boss. I know it's scary. It is scary. I know, but just tell it, and he might say, or she might say, sorry, no. But then you know that what you need, it's not gonna happen. And then again, it's up to you. Should I leave or stay or adjust your expectations?
I'm not big up.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So, and be human. I think.
Be brave.
Be
Don't be
brave,
afraid.
be human.
Yeah. Be human. Good human.
Probably. Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for the discussion and very interesting thoughts. And thank you for the audience as well. So thank you. Have a nice day and stay motivated.
By the way, do we have time for questions from the audience?
I think we can close that and then we start with the discussion with a whole bunch of people because expand the discussion. So.
Yeah. And I would have a question
Okay.
to the panelists or maybe to any managers here. That, can you give an example when you were demotivated and what did we heard a good example from Gabor, and that's how they are. How did you handle your own demotivation? What did you do to come over it?
I have an answer. Okay. I think one of the main factors for motivation is when you have a problem and you keep facing it. Like, sometimes you cannot solve it right away, but if it keeps there, like the elephant on the room or whatever you want to call it, in the long term, that can really affect motivation. Then it depends on you. As I said, I'm a very positive person, and if I cannot do it one way, I will try 10 others. But on the long term, at least I keep hitting the wall. At some point, you're like, what is the point? And that can really hurt the motivation. In my personal experience.
It's coming from my self-understanding. I know that when my demotivation appears, like I stop doing something, and then I say, okay, I will do it later. I will do it later. Just to postpone. And that kind of feeling when I do everything and anything else, and not just that particular duty, I know that I am absolutely demotivated. I do not want to do that. And then the question is to me that, and I always ask the question for myself, that why? What's the reason for it? What is this thing that I really hate in that thing, or I do not want to start? And very often I know the answer before I ask the question, because I do have fear that it's really useless. It's really, I don't see the reason, I don't see the meaning. What is the added value of doing that thing? This is one. The other one, it would take too much time. Too much than I would like to invest. And these are the two things. And then the decision is coming, and because I really try to be adult and behave adult, at least honest to myself, that is it necessary to do, or I can be brave enough to let it go. And if it is necessary, because I'm from that generation and I want to do the things well, then I say, okay, so it's necessary. So take a deep breath and I do it. This is how I work.
Let me just to finish my previous thought, basically. Then I've used vision and goals as like they are interchangeable, and they are not. And my recommendation to closing my previous thought is to have one vision. It's a very brave vision of where you would like to be. It can be a picture, just that is my vision. I'm sitting on a terrace of a nice house on the beach. My Ferrari is behind me. I'm sorry. Let's say, and that is your vision. It's your vision that I will love my job in 5 years time, and that is your vision, but it's just a vision. And afterwards, have goals, and the goals should lead to your vision. And I think it's a very important thing to make that they are not the same. Vision can be wild, but goals can be something that you must try back into tactics and actions. This is really hard work. In my work, the hardest thing to talk about is goals, especially for the board and high-level management, because they're like, we have to talk about it. We know what we want. But when we actually start talking about it, they have no idea. They have a very rough vision, but no road how they can get that. They say, we are brand XYZ. It will work because we are XYZ. And it's not, it's very hard work just to write it down. But it's worth it.
Just
I would like to make a provocation, not only to the panel, but also to Andy, and ask if there is a demotivated worker or a demotivated man, is it still worth it to keep him or her into a company?
Of course, I mean, that's the whole thing that we need to do. So again, we go back to communication. We need to talk with them, understand. Removing the motivation by itself is just make it neutral, right? To an individual, to a company. By itself, it doesn't work. But you start by that, and ideally, you go back to motivating you. Try to understand the human, what is going on. If at some point you see that whatever he's feeling is because he doesn't agree with the company vision anymore, or goals, or whatever you call it, then at some point you can discuss with them. Do you believe it makes sense to be here? Because if you don't believe on us, why are you? And then at that point, maybe not. As long as we don't let him be toxic, and because we say motivation is contagious, the same happens with motivation. So as long as we don't allow that to happen, until you can try to bring him back from me, is what.
I would say it depends. It depends on the level of the motivation. So if I have the chance to understand that, and yeah, just to talk to a colleague, especially if I have that kind of relation, I mean, I'm not too far away, I don't know the size of the company. I'm lucky because I'm working for a company which is not too big, and I know everybody by name. I know everybody, lots of things about people. So I have the luxury to go there and say that, yes, do you have a time? Shall we sit with you? And I asked the question. I see you, and I just recognize that in the last couple of, I don't know, weeks, months, something happened. What you want to talk about? And ask him. And I would say that 9 times from 10 cases, he just opened the door, and everything is just coming out. And yeah, we can recognize that the person is just in a particular mood, or over that order when he or she is going to become toxic. And then I can recommend to the person, try to find happiness somewhere else, try to find something, because it doesn't mean that, oh, company is also changing, people are changing, everything is changing. It can happen that there's a point when we just, move to a completely different direction. And it's not going to be a happy and really a long-term cooperation between the company and herself. But then a nice, alert, and conscious and respectful separation is much better for both parties.
My take is that it depends as well, but what I think it depends on is that, is it causing trouble? I think not every employee needs to be motivated to do their jobs, to be honest with you, especially in basic level jobs. I used to do those jobs. I hated it, really hated them, but I knew I knew this is not going to be my life forever. I need to start somewhere, and I wasn't motivated to do the job. And if you have an employee who's motivated but not causing problems, fine, maybe. But if it's causing problems, I think don't fire them immediately. Have a chat, sit down, and give them a warning that hey, love you, but we're not doing your take your whole company back, we're causing issues. Give them a warning and allow them to do better, and allow them the chance to express why they are not doing that, why they're motivated. And it might be something that you've missed or the company has missed. Try to solve it if you can. If you cannot, yeah, separate just in an adult and kind and decent way. But it depends if it's causing troubles or not.
Yeah, I agree with what you said previously, but would also like to add, like you have touched to it, the ability to change. Like if you sit down with that person, and you understand why that person is still being motivated, and let's say that it is toxic, it causes problems to the company, is the person able to change, or does the person want to change? And if yes, yeah, I think you should let that person have some time, and if you want to do so. If the person is not up for change, I think make a good closure and in good ways is probably the best choice in that situation.
But I would like to defend this imaginary employee because him or her might not be the reason, or maybe the company needs to change.
Exactly.
Who needs to?
Absolutely. I mean, if the employee is toxic and the reason is inner motivation, the company has done their part.
Yeah.
In that case, I mean, it's down to ability to change from the individual. Of course, the company needs to be able to change as well, or adjust to the situation.
Because in your presentation, you talked about issues in Hungary, or what in the Hungarian market is a challenge with motivation. I think one can be this, that if someone is taught that you are wrong, the way you feel is wrong, you are motivated, it's wrong, you have no value. And if you let go someone like this with this feeling, that he or she will take that feeling to the next job. Yeah, will take that feeling to home, to his or her children, to family members, and like a pandemic or a virus. And this is what is toxic at the end of the day. If we let these kinds of negative feelings to stay in people, and we tell them that the way you feel is wrong.
Yeah.
If you hate your job, you are wrong. And this is what takes you a really good manager, but mostly HR person, because I think this is a very high level of empathy that someone needs to have in order to be able to go into a discussion and pay attention that someone doesn't feel like that they are wrong. The way they feel is wrong. So that's worse. If that emotion is taken to new and employers and life places, it would just spread, and that is toxic.
Yeah.
They don't need to be wrong. I'm saying it may be that their vision and the company, the vision of the company just don't match.
Yeah.
At that point, you just go different ways.
Just say that.
It doesn't mean
like
that you that you're wrong or I'm right because we don't see the same. It doesn't make sense to work together.
Exactly.
And I think we create an environment where it's okay to be wrong. So you're talking about, like where if you can have that vibe, that atmosphere on the top level, it will also go down within the company. Because example was when I came to Budapest, I was part of an accelerator. In this accelerator, a lot of like mentors that were really successful. They were CEOs or successful entrepreneurs. And I asked them out for lunches and meetings, and I did that spontaneously. And then in the end of the program, the Hungarian entrepreneurs they said that they wanted to have like a better understanding it was okay to ask them out for lunches and meetings, because they didn't feel that they could just, ask them, for their time. And then the leaders of the program asked me, like, but you asked them, why did you do that? And I was like, yeah, because the only thing that I could get would be, a no. Like, I don't have time, or, no, I can't take this lunch. But I noticed a difference in the culture that you play there, like, this, this maybe this fear of asking, because you're afraid of asking the wrong question, or that someone will say, no, you cannot ask that. In Sweden, in school, you're allowed to ask whatever, and you encourage the students to ask. So that's, and then, you go to the adult life and how that impacts their situations.
I think there was a embrace on that side, which you still want to ask them.
Yeah, it was probably less of a question, more of a comment. But it's a bit too late, so I don't know how fresh you are for a 5-minute comment, because it's not going to be 2 minutes, okay? So do I have the right to make that 5 minutes comment? Okay. I'm a burnout survivor after 30 years of successful international career in really high positions. And in the past 3 years, I was actually researching the entire topic of motivation, not just because I needed that for myself to come back and restore my desires and my future, but also to understand a bit how much COVID have changed the entire pool of employment, and also the role of companies and the role of HR. And I think there was a lot of comments here, but actually the 2 years of COVID put enormous pressure on both the managers and the HR people compared to the previous years. Why? Because I think managing people back to their home environment, that actually created an integration where you probably have seen numerous models of wheels of life. But in those wheels of life, just one component is work or business. And what COVID did made all the other components equally important. So out of sudden, companies and HR found themselves in attention business. And in attention business, what is important, everyone wants to be heard and seen and validated. And when you feel demotivated and you go to the burnout, it's never external. It's just the output that I don't get the car, I don't get the salary, I don't get the desk. It's always the internal, and the internal is actually very much related to 4 things, and that's my own understanding of it. So you may read a lot of other literature with other models. One is what is the role of your work in this entire wheel of life? The second is, do I really know what is my unique ability, what I'm good at, and am I doing the job that is fitting that unique ability? So can I flourish in that job? Or is it something that I do for a very simple reason? I need the money, I need to feed the family, I want to have some status items. So whatever is the need, I'm satisfying, okay? The third one is, what need am I satisfying? Am I satisfying security, or variety, or significance, or connection, or growth, or contribution? And that may vary, not just because of my own individual value set, but actually that may vary throughout my life, reaching different levels and trying different experiences. Okay? And the fourth one will be my personal language of motivation, because there are many different languages of motivation. There are not that many. There are different structures in it that you can find also in different literatures. But if I'm used to have one type of language of motivation, and for example, my manager is having a completely different type of language of motivation, okay? then I may not hear even the appreciation. And the way how I communicate and I communicate my appreciation may not be heard at all by the person who I'm trying to tell that, hey, you're wonderful, you're important. This is really something we want to have you and be part of it. So before COVID, companies could operate as orchestras, picking the best musicians, synchronizing their work, and making sure the symphony is just brilliantly played. And if you have a good conductor or a brilliant conductor, then it was thriving, and that was a vision, and that was a clear goal set, and you performed. Now, after the COVID and during the COVID, out of sudden, you have to transform more into an NFL coach. Okay, so knowing your player much deeper than you have to know before, in order to be able to put this person into the right attention and motivation environment. And if your company still may not be the right company for the person, but at least there are tools how you can help this person to identify if the person is in the right place, at the right company, doing the right job, and also giving a handle to the line managers, like, okay, if you want to keep this person, if you want to motivate this person, and based on this gathered data, then just bear in mind, he doesn't want this, she doesn't want that, but they would be very much motivated with this. Now, is it feasible to manage that kind of approach with a company? I don't know. I'm still building out my business ideas, so I'm not here to sell something. But actually, I think the entire approach, the way how we look at it, changed dramatically in the past 2 years, and that's a huge challenge for all of you. And I don't envy your work. I think it's a great growth opportunity, but it's also a huge burden. So that the question is, I don't know. I mean, what
I have a question for you. Do you actually believe it's up to us to do that? Because I cannot tell people, is this the right job for them? I mean, I cannot.
Well, you can give them a questionnaire, and based on the questionnaire,
yes,
you can have a discussion.
I can have a discussion. I can give a very personal opinion, sometimes as a colleague / friend, depending on, because you really need a deep connection to know that person to not be this or that. Again, communication, listening will be most of the time the solution, because you will understand people. And you're right, COVID changed the way work exists. We didn't settle down yet. I think we need 1-2 more years to people to try either remote, and then we'll be able to properly tackle these new ways of work. But I feel that we can help the most we can at work with our current vision in the company. But then it's really to the people, to the person to think, do I want to be IT, or do I want to be marketing, do I want to be design, do I want to be a lawyer? So you can help a little bit, but in some ways, what is really deep within them is also needs to be themselves finding it out. And as you said, the more you go on your life path, you may know better what you want and what you don't want.
That's correct, but also you know your traits, and you can put a person better suited to a design job, actually, and make him more happy.
Yes, I mean, in the company, there is a different paths, yes.
Yeah.
But what if it is something that is not really in the company? That's the person to decide.
So what you were saying basically is, should a company get involved in this and try to help their employees
Well, I don't
understand
know.
their
Yes,
motivation?
but I think it would be a better fit, both for the company and for the employees.
Well, I think that's why in the last X amount of years, the title of like chief culture officer, employee happiness officer, and so on. And I know that this sounds like a joke, but 2 companies really have done this, mostly in the US and Sweden and the Western countries, or where money is really not enough, and having a better office is not enough, and you must care, you must handle deep personal issues like this in order to bring the best effort out of people. And that's why those jobs exists, but I don't think it's every company is like this in every country. Companies like this, and this is above the role of a typical business. It's a very humane and personal thing, and I would even say in Hungary, I can imagine many people would push this back that my manager, my company should not get into that deep of a personal topic. So I think this is for the top achiever company, or where they really care about this, or they in a place where they have no other options for new talent or to resources. It's basically when you're at a stage when you can afford to exchange your car when it's broken, exchange it, sell it, whatever. But when you cannot buy a car like today, and then you must, okay, I must learn how to treat this car better. I must go on YouTube and find how not to use the manual gearing, for example, or how to when to change oil. So it's basically an ownership over your resource when you know that you cannot just get a new one like that.
Yeah, I really like this topic, and I think we can continue the whole day, but unfortunately, I'm the chief time officer now, and I have to say, our time is running out. So I appreciate your time and appreciate the questions, and stay tuned and be happy. Thank you.
So we would like to thank the presenters and the program participants for the excellent participation. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also a big applause to Shinnax, who always support us with the to distribute to your thank you for your colleagues who made it always makes it possible to have us here and then have the backgrounds like this. It's several people. So thank you very much, and some coffee and snacks are there waiting for you, and continue the discussions in smaller or larger groups, or on LinkedIn, or yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.